Hello and welcome to another video of my challenge battle series. This time we are playing as the Satsuma on Shogun 2's Fall of the Samurai campaign. In this battle we have our 3 generals, 1 Yarikachi, 11 spear levy, 1 saber cavalry and 4 veteran line infantry units, going up against another full stack army consisting of 3 generals, 2 Yariki, 6 katana kachi, 1 Yarikachi, 2 matchlock kachi, 1 spear levy and 5 levy infantry. The enemy is also supported by a tiny force of 1 matchlock kachi and 1 levy infantry. As you might have guessed, the encounter here is the result of me laying siege to this settlement, with the intent of luring the enemy outside in an open field battle. You might also have correctly concluded that the balance of power is misleading, as there is no way our spear levy units will last long enough against 6 katana kachi to allow our line infantry to make the most out of their firepower. If only the highly complex tactic of lowering your spear and poking it at the enemy from a distance was not lost over the centuries, but carefully passed down into the modern age from the worthy ancestors of the spear levy, the majestic Yaria Shigeru. This battle would have been much easier, as our spear levy units would last much longer against these katanas. But then we wouldn't have a video, and it would not be much fun, would it? Let's dive in and see how we can overcome this challenge. We start here in the open field behind this forested hill, which is not tall enough to provide a significant advantage in high ground, and even if it were, it would not be of much help, as katana kachi will still tear through our spear units with ease. Defeating the enemy in hand-to-hand combat is obviously impossible, and firepower is what will decide victory today. Our line infantry is highly experienced and can deal tons of damage, but will need clear line of sight, and enough time to utilize its firepower before caught in a melee. Normally, the strategy would have been to use our spear units as cannon fodder, to slow the advance of the enemy long enough so that our gun units would mow them down from a distance. But the enemy has brought too many sword units for this tactic to work, and the cavalry they have brought will threaten to flank and attack our gun units. We could try and intercept the enemy cavalry with our own horses, but that is very risky as we might lose our generals, and it is cardinal that we keep our generals alive throughout the campaign for a number of reasons that don't need to be explained here. This is especially so given that the enemy Yariki has a bonus against cavalry, and will defeat our mounted troops in the encounter. Perhaps we could try and use some of our spears against the enemy horses, but that leaves us with even less troops to hold the line against the sword infantry. It is quite clear by now that we will need to revise our strategy in order to win the battle. Quite often, in order to make full use of our strengths and reduce the advantages of the enemy, we need to make good use of the terrain and carefully planned positioning. In this particular case, a choke point would be most helpful, to prevent the enemy of using all of their sword units at once, and shred through our lines, as well as higher ground in order to utilize our guns to the fullest, as the height would provide clear line of sight for them to take aim and fire. Luckily for us, there is one place that gives us just what we need. Right here, on the very edge of the map, there is a narrow crossing that stretches between 2 slopes. This choke point will prevent the enemy of making full use of their forces, and the slope will provide the much needed high ground for our guns to fire all at once. It can be easy to be carried away when presented with such an opportunity, however, and get the positioning wrong. We will examine how it will be best to place our units in order to maximize our strengths and minimize those of the enemy. First, We will place our line infantry units one above the other over the slope, fully stretched in a line. This ensures that no unit obstructs the other, and allows the most individual soldiers possible to fire their guns. Our firepower will be maximized, and the easiest part of the strategy dealt with. Now comes the slightly more complicated aspect of the plan. Our spear units are weak in melee individually, and are prone to rooting when things don't go their way. To maximize their resolve and holding power, it will be best to actually place them all together in a thick blob here in the choke point, whilst within the influence radius of our generals. Their morale will be stronger, and will fight better with allies close by their side. It can be tempting to place the spear blob further behind in the crossing, to allow some of the enemy to enter the choke point. This is where things will go wrong. Although the enemy will be held back, some of our guns will be obstructed and won't be able to fire down on them. It is actually best to place our spear blob right at the entrance of the crossing, to prevent the enemy from entering the choke point in the first place. This way, the enemy units will gather and be halted over the opposite slope. Although this will grant them a height advantage in melee, it will also allow our guns to have a clear shot on them. The height advantage won't be enough for the katanas to punch through before they are destroyed. The enemy gun units might also have a better chance to deal more damage to our spears, but there is nothing stopping us from shooting them down with our line infantry, who will easily beat all of them given their superior stats. The strategy has been laid down, but there is one last thing we need to be aware of. The choke point is well beyond our deployment area, meaning that we will need to run all the way there, before the enemy catches up on us. We will surely manage to get there in time, but the AI may throw its cavalry on us in the meantime, and cause damage to our line infantry if we're not careful. Now, with faith, steel, and gunpowder, let's earn ourselves another victory, in the name of the Emperor.
We are ready to defend, sir! He is at the ready! Spears at the ready!
Spears at the ready!
Spear ready! Ready for order! Retreat! Spears to the wall!
Ready for orders!
On the line, sir! Their general has fallen! A unit is running from the battlefield, sir!
general is under attack.
At the double! At the double! Ready for orders, sir! At the double! Ready for orders, sir! At the double! Line infantry! Line infantry! Ready to follow, my lord! At the double! At the double! At the double! At the double!
Ready for orders, sir.
Dillo and guard! Dillo and guard! Ready for orders, sir! At the double!
You have triumphed over the enemy.
And so, we have won this battle. There were some annoyances on the way, but we have triumphed nonetheless. This encounter was not as intense as the last one I've covered, but there is always something so satisfying in watching a thick blob of soldiers being gunned down by several lines of rapid-firing rifles. Let's have a look at the statistics. With most of the enemy army destroyed, it's now easy to launch the assault and capture the settlement.
Besieging settlement.
This concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it, and hopefully you've learned some new tricks in how to deal with tricky situations like this one. I'll see you next time.